With Pokrovsk now in Russian hands, the next stage of this epic battle shifted towards the east and this town called Myrnohrad. As you can see, many Ukrainian units are effectively trapped inside this cauldron. But the worst is how their commanders have no intentions to pull them out. No. They want them to hold their positions inside the cauldron at all costs. Not only that, it's almost impossible to supply them.
Madness and stupidity.
You know it's bad when even the New York Times asks, save lives or keep holding on. Of course, as if Ukraine has so much manpower to spare. Because of the hopeless situation inside that cauldron, some Ukrainian troops just had enough. In this video released on the 11th of November, we can observe the surrender of 25 Ukrainian soldiers from the elite 38th Marine Brigade. This is one of the largest batch of Ukrainian POWs that the Russians have captured in a long time.
We are winning!
And you know what? Many Ukrainian units that are abandoned inside that cauldron could be thinking about the same thing. Immediately after this video was released, the general staff of the AFU claimed this video was fake. And then the Russians pulled out all the receipts. I'll explain to you all this in a moment. Because of this impending military disaster, according to the latest news, our beloved Ukrainskaya Armia launched a series of counterattacks to unblock the Myrnohrad garrison. Let's be honest, Ukraine's only hope is just to call ICE and report thousands of heavily armed illegal migrants from Russia hiding inside the sanctuary city of Pokrovsk. You know, I was fortunate enough to travel across the world. Paris, Rio de Janeiro, Tokyo, Singapore, Dubai. There is one item I always kept by my side. It's this wallet by Exter. It's compact, sleek, elegant. You just push here for your cards to fan out and for easy access. And because of that, people are always intrigued when I whip it out. And if you need more space, you can always add more cards on the inside. Exter offered it to me in 2022 and I've kept it ever since. This time around, Exter has kindly sent me their new collection. So here's the leather wallet. Designed in the Netherlands. It's the same one that I have, but in black. It feels so smooth and it just exudes aura. And if you're someone that tends to lose their wallet, Exter also offers a GPS tracker that you can connect to your phone. And that of course conveniently fits inside the wallet. Otherwise, if you need something more compact, Exter also offered me the blue aluminum model. Completely different aesthetics with its slim profile. This one is great because you can insert up to 7 cards back to back. And if there's one card that you use regularly, like a Metro Pass or a Costco card, you can place it right here for easy access. But that's not all. If you're someone that struggles to travel light, you should get Exter's Travel Pack Vacuum Kit. You can pack 15 clothing pieces and it compresses the kit by 60% with this air pump. That means you can travel lightly just with a backpack. It's also perfect if you want to travel with a carry-on only. You can fit everything you need. Because with Exter's Travel Pack Vacuum Kit, you save 3 times more packing space. Whether you want to treat yourself or looking for a unique gift, Exter Black Friday sales are up with up to 54% off. And if you use my exclusive discount code LEGEND, you can unlock an extra 10% off at checkout by clicking the link in the description below. How about we just start where we last left off a week ago in my previous video, 7th of November. On the 7th, Ukrainian artillery from the 155th Mechanized Brigade bombarded Russian positions in this industrial area northwest of Pokrovsk. As a reminder, this is exactly where that Black Hawk helicopter air assault took place. Thus, this confirms that the Ukrainians were unable to dislodge the Russians from this area. Meanwhile, Ukrainian drones from the 68th Jaeger Brigade also targeted Russian riflemen on the northeastern edge of the city. The Russian 2nd Combined Arms Army even started shoving its tip inside Rivne. If they push a little bit deeper, they'll tickle the G-spot of the Ukrainian garrison. G for this gap between Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad. This is extremely important because the center of gravity of the battle shifted from Pokrovsk eastwards towards Myrnohrad, according to various geolocations. we can confirm that the city was attacked from 4 different directions. Look at these 4 intimidating shafts all pointing towards Myrnohrad. In the north, small groups of Russian riflemen were being harassed by Ukrainian FPV drones. This means heavy fighting was taking place over this entire 3-kilometer long tree line. The Ukrainian command really wanted to pin down enemy forces and prevent them from taking any step beyond that tree line. However, according to this video, some Russian patrols did manage to call it touchdown on the northern outskirts of Myrnohrad. At the same time, Ukraine's 97th Air Assault Brigade struck Russian forces advancing into the eastern side of Myrnohrad. This time they didn't target one big mechanized assault, but a multitude of individual vehicles, like some sort of shuttles disembarking reinforcements into the city. We can clearly see that these troops are part of the second echelon, just meant to bring supplies and keep the ball rolling. If the Ukrainian garrison of Myrnohrad more or less managed to keep the Russians at bay, it's in the southern part of the urban area that positions started to collapse. As you can see from this industrial area, Russian infantry units started advancing at an accelerated rate, bypassing the stronghold and just pushing northwards. According to most maps, this sector is defended by the Ukrainian 38th Marine Brigade. Yes, that's right, the same unit that was sacrificed to hold the pointless Krinky breachhead, and that now is being sacrificed once more to hold the pointless Myrnohrad Cauldron.
What, we some kind of suicide squad?
8th of November. The next day, 2 Russian soldiers were targeted along the railway track at the center of Pokrovsk. This means an increasing number of Russian elements are reinforcing their positions north of the city. It's also very interesting to me how Ukrainian drone operators could only catch 2 Russian riflemen. Either it's because throughout that entire day, only 2 Russian infantrymen advanced in this direction, or the Ukrainians could only catch 2 out of a much larger force of Russian troops. I think we all agree it's option 2, right? Once again, this confirms how difficult it actually is for drone operators to target enemy infantrymen in urban areas. In the following drone footage, we see multiple Russian supply trucks and light utility vehicles being targeted, and they seem to be loaded with wooden crates and various supplies. This most likely indicates that Pokrovsk has indeed been captured by Russian forces, and that as part of Phase 2, the Russian command of the 2nd Combined Arms Army is preparing to convert the city into a forward logistics node to exploit this victory and sustain future offensive maneuvers. Inside Pokrovsk, we could also witness Russian engineers removing barricades and dragon teeth from the main roads. And pay attention, they're doing this under the cover of fog. This will become extremely important in just a moment, because according to multiple accounts, heavy fog was reported that entire week, so the Russians took advantage of the poor weather to move in their troops. As for Myrnohrad, we only have this video of a massive Russian FAB-3000 airstrike on a multi-level building. It would be interesting to analyze the number of Ukrainian casualties caused by these FAB bombs. Thousands of them are dropped every single month. This airstrike targeted this high-rise district east of the city. It's like an impregnable citadel, if and only if you have enough infantry to effectively defend the area. Otherwise, the enemy can easily infiltrate and turn these commie blocks into a death trap. 9th of November. That day, more Russian storm detachments were geolocated in the industrial area south of Rivne. On the satellite map, the infiltration happened around these warehouses. In red, you can also see Pokrovsk, and in blue, 2 kilometers further across the G-spot, it's Myrnohrad. As you can observe, if Russian forces secure this area, it's GG. Well played. Whatever Ukrainian troops are still positioned in that cauldron, they're doomed. Now the Ukrainian command only has 3 options, all of them worse than the other. Number 1, order a mass withdrawal and break out from the Cauldron, Budapest 1945 style, and hope for the best. Could result in heavy casualties. Number 2, launch a massive counterattack to secure the orderly retreat of the Myrnohrad garrison. Could result in heavy casualties. And number 3, order the garrison to stand its ground and fight until the end. Will result in heavy casualties.
Fuck.
Meanwhile, in this Ukrainian drone footage, we can also see an increasing number of soft-skinned vehicles being hit around Pokrovsk. This confirms the theory of the second echelon moving into Pokrovsk, and this likely explains what we witnessed 24 hours later, 10th of November. In the early hours of the 10th of November, a Russian Mad Max convoy composed of motorcycles, buggies, and various Soviet-era vehicles was spotted driving into Pokrovsk. If you're interested, I covered this entire event in great detail in this video, link will be in the description below. Essentially, this column used the cover of the morning fog to drive right into Pokrovsk. That's because poor weather means poor visibility, and in such conditions, reconnaissance and FPV drones are practically ineffective. And those that do fly operate with significant reduced efficiency. That was really a golden opportunity for the Russian army. The Russian command was like, "Davai, davai, davai, go, go, go!" As a matter of fact, Ukrainian drone operators keep complaining about their inability to detect enemy formations as they just slip through the fog. As part of this convoy, I could visually confirm the presence of 27 Russian soldiers, an entire platoon worth of troops. And we can be certain that this wasn't the only convoy that made it into Pokrovsk. We can also see how the vehicles were transporting a lot of supplies, plus drones, gasoline, and ammunition. This confirms that the Russian 2nd Command Arms Army is turning Pokrovsk into a stepping stone for future offensive operations. But like I said, the full video is in the comment section below. Now, in the comments of that video, some people asked if the fog could also help Ukrainian soldiers escape from the Cauldron. And the answer is yes, absolutely. They definitely could do that in small groups. The problem is that for bigger units, they need to be given the green light by their command structure to retreat. At the same time, 1 kilometer north of where that convoy was geolocated, Russian forces from the 14th 35th Motorized Rifle Regiment raised their colors on the hamlet of Hnativka. This could mean the convoy is also part of this unit, and this regiment is attached to the 27th Guards Motorized Rifle Division. This confirms that it's indeed the Russian 2nd Command Arms Army that is pushing into Pokrovsk. This army specifically is known for prioritizing infantry infiltrations, instead of mechanized assaults for a year now, since the fall of Selidove. Talking about the 27th Division, here's what Oleg Miller witnessed as Chief of Staff of the Medical Battalion of that division. He explained that in certain Sturm detachments, out of 100 soldiers, only 10 to 20 would return. He also said that if soldiers want to avoid being sent forward in dangerous missions as part of these Sturm detachments, they have to pay their officers. I don't know the context of this video, but we saw similar extortion and corruption in Ukrainian units. My friends, I'm telling you, this is a civil war. Both sides are the same.
That man's an imposter!
11th of November. That day, nothing major to be reported in Pokrovsk. However, it's in Myrnohrad that things got spicy. In this video, we see a Russian infantryman casually walking next to this monument. And because of that, we know exactly that he was walking in this direction, right here, behind the industrial area. As a reminder, heavy fighting took place there about 2 weeks ago. Now, fun fact, this monument that we just saw is dedicated to Ivan Britko. What do you mean you don't know who he is?
How can they call themselves men?
Okay, so I did some digging, and turns out Ivan Britko was a prominent Soviet innovator in mining techniques. He earned the title of Hero of Socialist Labor twice for exceptional achievements in boosting coal production during post-war reconstruction. He's particularly known for his work at the Hrodivka mine in now what is Myrnohrad. Now here's a question to you. When was the last time your city raised a monument in honor of a local engineer or blue-collar worker for his achievements? Okay, all this foreplay to say that the 5th Brigade of the DPR, the coal miners, applied a lot of pressure on Ukrainian forces defending this residential sector south of Myrnohrad. Ukrainian forces were effectively being outflanked. And this brings us to the surrender of the Ukrainian Marines from the 38th Brigade. We can observe the surrender of 25 Ukrainian soldiers walking in a file with their hands up across some woods. The prisoners claimed to be part of the 38th Marine Brigade and explained how their commanders told them not to abandon their positions and forbade them from retreating. Of course, we can't take at face value whatever recently captured soldiers will tell in front of a camera. However, there must be a reason as to why so many Ukrainian soldiers surrendered at once. we can believe that these Marines were effectively pinned down, completely isolated, and there was no way for them to escape from the encirclement without suffering heavy losses. Immediately after Ukraine's Army Inform, a military news website directly operated by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, they immediately reported the 30th Brigade denied the Russian fake about the mass capture of Marines near Myrnohrad, or here by Army FM, information about the surrender of 25 soldiers of the 38th Marine Brigade is fake. But that's also the only explanation we were given. This rebuttal is as convincing as Ridley Scott talking about historical accuracy in his movie Napoleon. And they're playing with words. All they claim is that the soldiers shown in the video do not belong to the 38th Marine Brigade. This is the part they claim is fake, but they don't deny that so many Ukrainian soldiers surrendered. Meanwhile, the Russians pulled out all the receipts. They released audio intercepts from that platoon of Ukrainian Marines and their command post. The soldiers are complaining about hunger and thirst. Their commanders essentially told them to stop complaining and that supplies will get there when they get there. And seeing this opportunity, the Russians dropped leaflets telling the Marines to lay down their weapons. I don't know about you, but I think the Russian version of the story has a stronger case. Now I decided to have some fun and try to find exactly where that happened. Autism activated! According to where the leaflets were dropped, namely somewhere in Myrnohrad, we see 4 high-rise buildings on the right, one next to another, and the same pattern on the other side of this little park. And then there's a smaller, square-shaped building in between. And I found it. The leaflets were dropped 2 kilometers northwest of the coal mine. That's the point of view of the drone. We see 1, 2, 3, and 4 commie blocks side by side on the right side, this little park, and then the same pattern on the left side. 1, 2, 3, and 4, yeah. And there's this building in between. We got the spot, geolocation confirmed, and the leaflets were dropped somewhere in this area. This also confirms the Russian flanking maneuver north of the industrial area. Oh, hold on! I remember seeing a video that explains these Ukrainian drone strikes on advancing Russian forces. Okay, it all makes sense now. Let's be honest, it was a brilliant tactical move by the Russians. Because for the defenders, it's very easy to get surrounded in that part of the city. Look at how narrow it is. And all around, it's open field. This Ukrainian soldier even admitted that organized resistance has ceased in Myrnohrad and that there's no safe retreat routes. The big question is, how many Ukrainian soldiers are now effectively trapped inside Myrnohrad? With that being said, there are fake videos being spread online, like this one. All the characters seem to float like NPCs, and if you zoom in here, you can see that the wheelchair moves on its own, the soldier behind is not even touching it, and there's this messy AI-generated Ukraine flag hanging on the wheelchair. I think this is the type of fake that boomers would immediately share on Facebook. 12th of November. Russian units now consolidated their positions on the northwestern edge of Pokrovsk, and that's when they received a welcome package from Ukrainian artillery in the shape of 155mm shells. Meanwhile, to the east, Russian patrols continued creeping their way towards Rivne. Here, it's a lone Russian rifleman that was targeted by an FPV drone. If we actually pay attention to the map, all the evidence is there. But many will still cope and claim that Pokrovsk is not under Russian control. This is the map of Pokrovsk as shown by the Kyiv Independent. Here from the Institute of the Study of War. Russian partial battlefield air interdiction enabled recent Russian advances in Pokrovsk. What is that even supposed to mean? It just means they're coping. Hard. But that's when Ukraine's 425th Skala regiment launched a daring counterattack. In the footage that was released, we see multiple assaulted detachments of 3 to 4 soldiers advancing into Pokrovsk, all the while being guided by numerous recon drones. Any enemy strongpoint the fire teams encountered was then swarmed by FPV drones. Then we can see Skala teams take hold of multiple entrenchments, from where they push deep into the urban area of Pokrovsk and all the way to the city center. On the map, we can trace their itinerary as such. First attack along the TO515 road, with a supportive action along parallel tree lines. This was followed by a breach and entrance into the city from this direction, crossing of the railway line and reaching the city center. This definitely smells like a PR stunt. Although the video was released on the 11th of November, it's probably a week old. if not more. And to me, there's strange correlations with this other video that was released by Skala where they had this flag raised at the center of Pokrovsk. Flag that is, by the way, nowhere to be seen by Russian drones. The Ukrainians must have raised it, PR stunt, pack everything up, and they returned home. But even if it was an actual counterattack, it looks very similar to what we witnessed during the Battle of Donetsk. That is the insertion of small fire teams deep into the city to harass Russian units. 13th of November. On the 13th, Skala also counterattacked in Rodinske. Here we see an APC disembarking an assault team. We can geolocate this right here on this road west of Rodinske. And in this part, we can see another fire team from the Skala regiment pushing southwards, parallel to the town. I had a discussion with a Danish weeb about Russia's area of control in Rodinske, but this time he seems to be correct. This could mean the actual front line lies somewhere here, and how most of Rodinske is now under Russian control. While this battle was taking place northeast of Pokrovsk, sporadic skirmishes erupted between Russian and Ukrainian patrols from the 155th Mechanized Brigade. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Russian troops decorated the walls with very poetic street art. This graffiti said, "Sarmat, Budanov loser, thanks for the trophies," in reference to the helicopter attack, and the other one on the Pokrovsk sign said, "Glory to Russia." Meanwhile, south of Myrnohrad, men of the 5th Brigade of the DPR raised their colors on this huge industrial factory. In this video, we see a Russian soldier throwing down the Ukrainian flag, only to wave the white-blue-red banner instead. But shortly after, Ukrainian drones struck the flag to demonstrate that they're coping and seething. What you want me to tell is the reality. They did the exact same thing at the Pokrovsk sign. It's not as if whenever these drone strikes destroy a Russian flag that this area magically returns into Ukrainian hands. 14th of November. After Skala's raids into Pokrovsk, it's detachments from the 155th Mechanized Brigade that went on the assault. Here we see a 4-man fire team taking up position inside this large building. Moments later, Russian artillery released some of the heaviest loads on it. Meanwhile, the Russian 1435th Regiment pushed northwards, and after raising its colors on Hnativka, it now claimed the capture of this hamlet called Reh. Look, the reality is that these settlements were already under Russian control for many days now. But this is the official capture for the cameras, the PR stunt. In conclusion, I still don't understand why Ukraine didn't withdraw from Myrnohrad earlier. It seems they decided to pull off a Mariupol 2.0, and this time sacrifice the entire 38th Marine Brigade. Again! For sure, this Soviet-style not a step back order is going to delay the Russians for some time. But is it worth losing an entire brigade? Even worse, imagine the repercussions on Ukrainian morale of hundreds upon hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers surrendering to the Russian army. That's all I have for you today. Remember to check out Exter. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of my analysis. If you're new to this channel, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to support my work, make sure to check out my Patreon or PayPal. The links are in the description below.